So this is the second part of the board marker tutorial series. So first one was to create the basic board pen using sketching and revolving. The next bit is to try and add some detail into this. Now, in other programs, we'd be able to take a two-dimensional graphic and wrap it around cylindrical objects. We can't do that in this program, not yet anyway. So what we can do, and this is quite a useful little tool, which you might want to use in other applications later on, is where you create a graphic and extrude it on a flat surface and then shave it away. So we're going to create the Edding logo and put it onto our pen so that it looks a little bit like this. Okay, so naturally Onshape won't let you draw on a curved surface. Because it's curved, you can't sketch on it. It doesn't recognize something that you can sketch on. Once you have created so rather than trying to select a curved surface to sketch on, what we're going to do in this video is to draw it on a flat surface and extrude it so that it's flat, but then use a revolve feature to shave off all the excess that we don't want. All right, so this is basically what I've done is I've created a sketch which has got my logo on it. It's on a plane that sits just above the surface, and I've then extruded that. So let's suppress that for a minute. We've then extruded it, pulled it up into 3D, and then drawn a sketch that we're going to use to revolve. So basically just a rectangle is the sketch that we're going to draw, and then we revolve that around this axis to remove material instead of add material, and then that is going to shave off the excess, leaving that behind. And when that's left behind, we can add appearance to the face, and we can change the color of that to something that stands out a little bit more and looks a bit more realistic. There's a couple of bits of the logo that haven't actually worked out on this one, but not to worry, we've got most of it, and it looks pretty decent. So I'm going to get on with that. I'm going to hide or suppress. In fact, actually, let's just get rid of these altogether, I think. So to select more than one thing, you can press Shift and then delete. All right, there goes all my lovely hard work. So what we do, first of all, is look at your marker pen, and we're going to draw a sketch. In this case, we're going to draw it on the front work plane. All right, so that's the same front work plane that we used to draw the initial sketch, I think. Yeah, on the front. Doesn't actually matter, to be honest. It could be the front or the right, as long as it's one that is facing us that way on. So click on your front work plane and sketch on it. It's always a good idea to right click, view normal to sketch plane, and you may need to pan to move it around so it's central. Right, that is ready to go. Like in previous ones, I've showed you how to import DXF graphics. So we're going to use that feature without going into too much detail. Insert DXF. You're going to need to import it. Remember, if you can't see the import button, you need to Control- to zoom out, because sometimes if you're zoomed in too much, you can't see that button down there. So it's Control- to zoom out, and then you can get the import. You should have already downloaded it. All these vector and artwork files can be found in the classroom. The link to the folder is in the classroom. And if you've downloaded it and it's on your Chromebook or in your drive, then you should be able to download it. So then you select your logo. I've gone for an Edding DXF because that's the brand of the marker that we've copied, but you can use whatever one, to be honest. And then select that. Now when it comes in, you might get lucky and it might be facing the right way around, but there's a good chance that it probably won't be. So what we're going to have to do is, first of all, rotate that. Now up here, under the linear pattern and the circular pattern, you have got the transform tool, which allows you to rotate. Now, when you've selected that, you can then drag a box around your sketch entities, and then it knows which bits it needs to rotate. So you can use the arrow here to move it up, to move it left. But the important bit that we want is this one here that lets us rotate it at 90 degrees. And when we're happy with the orientation, so it's going to go onto there, I mean, we can use this now to also position it nicely onto our pen, okay, using the other arrows. So when we're happy with that, we can, let's see, move it that way a fraction, and then we can left click to say that we're happy with it, and it should have rotated and positioned itself nicely where we want it to. Now, I haven't had to resize it. If you do need to resize it, you can use the dimension tool and go click, click. That's giving me an angle. I don't want an angle. Just use the dimension tool and click on any of the aspects of it. So I've just clicked on that length there. If it was 60 and we wanted to make it smaller, we could maybe make it 40, and that'll scale the whole thing down like that. All right, I'm actually going to keep it at 60 because it's nice and big. Oops, 60, enter, there we go. All right, so there's my logo on the pen. It is quite big. It's probably a little bit unrealistic for what this pen looks like, but not to worry. I'm showing you the basics. If you want to make it smaller, then that is up to you. Right, so that sketch is actually on the wrong plane. So rather than starting this video all again, I'll show you how to move that sketch. The reason why it's on the wrong plane, it's actually okay, but the reason it's on the wrong plane is when we want to extrude it, it's actually really difficult to pull out, to pull the whole thing out. So I'm going to move it onto a new plane. A little bit fiddly, but it's not that bad. I'll show you how to do it. First of all, to use this new plane, I'm going to create one that sits just in front of the front one. The front one's slap bang in the middle of it, so I want to create one just in front of it. So you go to the plane tool and then select the plane that you're going to reference, which is the front one. We use this technique in lofting for the bottom of the pencil, so you should know what you're doing by now. And then it doesn't really matter where it is, as long as it's sort of in front of the other one. 25 millimeters is actually okay. So we've created a new plane, plane 1. Now then, I'm going to drag that up so that it happens before sketch 2. The reason why that's important is because if I go into sketch 2 now and edit it, instead of putting sketch 2 on the front plane, if I get rid of that and tell it I want it to go onto plane 1, it now moves it from the front and now puts it onto plane 1. Now, if I don't move that up, it won't know where to go and it'll fail. So it's all about what order you created it in. So if I've created the plane first, then I can put the sketch on it. All right, so let's just check that it's kept it in the same position, and it actually has. It's just changed the plane that it's on from the front to the new plane. So that's looking good. Now you'll see why I wanted to move it onto a new plane, because when I come to extrude that, there's a few things that could happen. First of all, I could try and just click on the whole sketch 2, and you'll see it will turn that into 3D, and it's not too bad, but it's sort of selected the outside bit rather than the inside bit. It's also pushing it in the wrong direction, so I'm just going to change that direction so it goes back onto my pen. And instead of going blind, I want it to go up to the next surface, so it stops as soon as it hits the outside. You might need to press merge with all, but that, I can see actually that is also failing. Now, probably what's happening there is something in here to do with this part of the sketch. So actually doing the whole of sketch 2 isn't really going to work for me. So instead of that, what we can do is try and click on, and to be honest, I don't want the outside bit around that anyway. I just want the lettering. So if we click on that E, it's the same thing. It's extruding it down until it hits the pen, and we'll go and hit the D. Be careful to get the D including the islands in the middle of it. not just the island and not just the D without the island. All right, and then the I, the tip of the I, the N, and also the G. So those bits are extruding quite nicely. You could also do some of these other parts of the logo if you want to. If you find, like I did earlier, that some of these fail, then don't worry about it. Like that one, exactly. So that last one is what's messed it up a little bit. But that is looking okay. So we can okay that. And it does look a bit weird. Obviously, we've got this extruded text coming far too far out. So the next stage is to shave that off. All right. So we're going to go back onto one of our flat work planes. It could be the front or it could be the right. I'm going to keep it consistent and go on the front again and sketch on that. Actually, you know what? I think we might even do... No, let's not do that. Let's put it on the right one. It might be a bit easier. Let's go to the right work plane and sketch on that. And right-click, View Normal to Sketch Plane. We'll bring that down. Right. What we're going to do here is just draw a rectangle. And that rectangle needs to cover up everything that we've just created, that text. But I don't want to go all the way to the edge. I certainly don't want to go into my pen. I want to leave a little gap between the end of my rectangle and the end of the marker. All right. If you want to be double sure how big that gap in there is, you can go to the dimension tool and click on the edge of that rectangle, and then just find something in there that you can lock onto and create a measurement. I think 0.5 is pretty good. So I managed to get that quite close. All right, so 0.5 is the distance. That's basically how much text we're going to leave sticking out. All right, and that is that bit. So what has happened by doing that is that it's made my box a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to select the one edge and drag it up so it covers all of what I need to shave off. The final bit, as well as that rectangle, the final bit on that sketch is to draw an axis. So use the line. You don't have to, but it's good practice to put it into construction mode. And then draw that axis starting from the center point, the halfway point of your marker, and just draw it straight up. Doesn't matter how long it is, and when you don't need to draw any more, so you can press escape out of that. So we've got two things on that sketch. Sketch 3 was a rectangle 0.5 millimeters from the edge, and then one construction line that runs up the center, and that's the end of that. So we can okay that sketch, and then to finish that off, this is quite a fun bit. If we put it into isometric, you'll see what happens a bit more clearly. I'm going to switch these planes off now, because they're also looking a little bit unpleasant. You should know how to turn the planes off just by clicking on the little eyeball. You can also hide the sketches if you really want. And then what we do now is go to revolve. It needs to be solid. It needs to be set to remove. The faces that we're going to cut are going to be sketch 3 that we've just created, that rectangle. The axis is unfortunately no longer visible because I've just made sketch 3 invisible. So let's turn sketch 3 back on, and you can see the axis that we've just drawn running down the center there. All right, now what's happening is it's shaving off all of that extrude apart from the 0.5 that we had running the distance between the extrude and the edge of the pen. So that is that. Okay, that. We can hide those sketches again, and that is our finished marker with some graphics on it. And like I said, if you want to change the color of those, right click, edit appearance to the face, and it doesn't have to be red. I think actually the bottom one in this case is blue. We'll okay that, and then right click, edit appearance to face, and then it's these ones that are red. I guess you could make right click, edit appearance to face. These ones should all be white if you're going to do it absolutely accurately according to that. And there we go. So that's our board pen with graphics that we've taken from a DXF, imported it on, extruded it out, and then shaved it using the revolve feature to remove the excess. All right, enjoy.